Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Swipe up episode 200 of the show where I share my opinions on current events, things that are going on in the world around us. And these are what I have to say about it. And if you don't like what I have to say, just mind your own business and move along. Maybe the show isn't for you. But if it is, please stick around and let's get into it. Starting off with what everybody knows by the time this show comes out, by the time this episode comes out, who knows what more developments would have happened in this whole story that is Donald Trump stealing classified documents from the White House. And of course, what happened days after that, an armed man who allegedly tried to breach the FBI field office, was killed by police after an hours-long standoff. So a Trump supporter, a domestic terrorist, a Republican domestic terrorist, fueled by the information given to him by Fox News, by politicians, Republican politicians, decided to arm himself and go to attack the FBI for serving a search warrant at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate to retrieve classified documents he did not hand over when asked to hand over. And he is apparently being investigated potentially for the Espionage Act. He potentially had documents with nuclear information, with nuclear weapon information, just some bad stuff, potential names and salaries of spies the United States has. Just a lot of bad things that a worthless, failed reality TV show host, racist, misogynistic, failed businessman. The dude has filed bankruptcy for more businesses than most people have ever started. A guy who's failed at marriage, a guy who's failed at raising competent children, a guy who is ashamed to disclose his grades from school, a guy who's barely able to function and form complete sentences. Along with the Republican Party, has encouraged another domestic terrorist attack. Is it surprising? No, that's what they do. That's what Fox News does. That's what Congress people like Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all the other fascists, the Nazi supporters, the white supremacists of the Republican Party. This is what they encourage. They literally celebrated a child who murdered protesters. A child who traveled to a different state with an assault rifle to murder in cold blood two people who were protesting First Amendment rights. Of course, Kyle Rittenhouse got off with murder because of some technicalities and some just poor legal system stuff in Wisconsin, but they celebrated him. They turned a multiple murderer into a celebrity. And now he goes around complaining that life is so hard. People don't like him now that they know that he killed people. I don't want to, pay. I don't want to have to suffer the consequences of my action. Why doesn't society just forget it? Why don't they love me like the Republicans love me? Even the CPAC, the conservative conference that they did, on their big display, they promoted that they are all domestic terrorists. They know they're domestic terrorists. They take pride in the fact that they're domestic terrorists. Ted Cruz takes pride in the fact that part of his attire, part of his boots have a symbol that is associated with domestic terrorists on it. He takes pride in it. They all take pride in it. That's the messaging they push. So when stuff like this happens, this is what they want to happen. They can't do it themselves, so they have to just encourage. They have to encourage the regular citizen into doing stuff like this. And it's not surprising. It's not surprising. And it's insane how they say that like they broke into his house. It's like they didn't break it. It wasn't like the FBI didn't treat Donald Trump like the police treated Breonna Taylor. The FBI did not break into his house with a no-knock warrant, which some conservatives are pushing that narrative. They didn't break into his house. They served him with a warrant to obtain materials that he had possession of that were listed on the warrant that Trump did not want. Trump could have offered that up if he wanted to show people what the FBI was there for. It states that in the warrant, what they are there for, along with the time and place. We know those aspects. We just didn't know what they were there for. And then, you know, the district or the guy in charge, you know, he went to file to get that released so the people could know what Donald Trump has. And apparently stuff has been leaked. We found out a lot of things. And it's like, oh, surprising, one of the worst people on the planet, who was one of the worst presidents of this country, has been doing illegal stuff like he does. That's how he survives. That's the reason why he has money. It's not because he is a successful businessman. It is because he is successful at laundering money. He is successful at avoiding paying taxes. He is successful at potentially murdering his own ex-wife and burying her on the front lawn, the golf course. Not a good guy. And I absolutely love how many of the insane clown posse are just descending upon Mar-a-Lago. All of the Trump fans just like clogging up streets with their flags, cheering him on. I want them all to go there. I want them to be as close as possible to Trump at all times. I want his neighbors to see the support that he has. I want Trump to be constantly surrounded by the people he does not have any respect for. He only cares about their money. He doesn't want them around him. He doesn't want their company. He's not the man of the people. He is the man who takes the money from the people. So I love seeing that they're all there cheering him on. I want more of that. They should treat Mar-a-Lago like Mecca. And they should all descend upon Mar-a-Lago. They should force themselves to get as close to his house as possible. To just protect their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump. Who's probably not even there. Like the fact that they're all there around his place. He's probably off at another house. He's probably, you know, whatever dictator that he has stolen these documents for, he's hooked up at one of their places. But I don't know. I hope something happens. I'm not going to hold my breath that he will ever be indicted. I'm not holding my breath that he will ever be in prison, even though he deserves everything, the full extent of the law. I'm not even going to hold my breath that Biden won't pardon this motherfucker. Just because that seems like what politicians do. It's like, oh, you know, he's charged with a thing. He can never be president again, so I'll pardon him. I can see him doing that. I mean, Biden is pretty conservative. He's done a lot to help out Mitch McConnell. So I can see him doing some stuff to help out Trump too. I hope he doesn't, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Let's take a little break from the Ray Taylor Show to promote my live art streams. That's right, I am an artist as well as a podcaster, and I paint live every Thursday at 4:20 Pacific time. Head on over, the best place ever for streaming, youtube.com/inspired disorder. That's right, every Thursday at 4:20, you can watch me paint the many faces. Every week, I paint 7 new faces of abstract portraits, ink on paper, and you can watch that happen. You can hang out with me while I listen to a classic episode from one of my favorite podcasts. Head on over to youtube.com/inspired disorder and check it out. Say hi, let's hang out, let's have some fun, and let's paint some faces. Now let's get back to the show. Let's move on. There was a new emergency number put out in addition to 911. 988 is a suicide hotline. And apparently, which is something that I assumed was part of the deal, because that's just how our systems are set up. People that have been calling 988 for mental health problems have been had the police called on them. And the police are horrible at dealing with people with mental health issues. That's the whole reason they set up this number, is to avoid people calling 911. But of course, you know, there's no other public safety infrastructure in place to help people who are having mental health issues. So when something happens and somebody's deemed to be a threat to themselves or to somebody else, the police are called. And of course, how do the police deal with everything? In the worst way possible. I mean, you want to talk about a group of people, like an organization that is well known for murdering unarmed men, women, and children on a regular basis. It is the police. You want to talk about a criminal organization, a terrorist organization, called the cops, probably not the people you want to be sent when you have a mental health issue. And for somebody that may be having a mental health issue, whether it's a manic state, a mental break, there's a lot of mental health reasons people may need help. The last thing you want to see, the last thing that's going to give you any amount of comfort, are police officers showing up at your door. You're already having a mental breakdown, and now you're going to have people who are well known for ending life. Innocent people's lives on a regular basis. They are known for harassing, torturing, maiming, murdering innocent citizens on a regular basis. And those are the people that are going to show up at your door. Now, there's some places, I think Denver maybe, there's some places that have experimented with limiting police activity and doing more, sending out people who are trained to deal with mental health issues. And those have been successful programs. So I'm sure there are places in this country where if you do call 988 and you are in a serious place, they won't just call the police, that they will send out people who are qualified to help you in your mental situation. Non-violent help, actual help. But the majority of the tax budgets go to inflating the potential for police showing up. Over militarized police, people that are okay with joining an organization that is well known for murdering people. If you are a person that does not value human life, that is the job you go get. You want to carry around a gun and just have free reign to treat people like livestock, that is the job you get. So not the people you want showing up. This service launched in July. Crisis Lifeline was celebrated by many mental health providers and advocates, but it triggered concerns, too, from people who say using the service could lead to increased law enforcement involvement or forced hospitalizations, which is something California is trying to get past, which is kind of crazy. There's no perfect place. Even though California, very blue state, there are still aspects of California that dehumanize people. Why are some people saying not to call 988? If 988 thinks a caller is at immediate risk of harming themselves or others, they may send police to take them to a hospital, which, you know, sometimes people don't make it to the hospital. Sometimes they end up in the hospital for physical harm that the police did. There was a video going around like a month ago of police officers just brutalizing an older woman who was having a mental breakdown, just beating her to a pulp before taking her to go get medical help. even without the caller's consent, they can call and get the police involved. That can be dangerous. 1 in 5 fatal police shootings in 2019 involved a person with mental illness. 1 in 5, 20%. Were mental illness, and involuntary treatment can be traumatic. Yeah. What does 988 say about how it handles crisis situation? Counselors are trained to actively listen, discuss the caller's concerns, and help find solutions. Most calls about suicide are de-escalated without law enforcement. In previous years, emergency services were dispatched in just 2% of the hotline's interactions, so that's good. So should I use 988 or not? We know it's not satisfying, but the honest answer is it depends. The 988 hotline is the nation's most comprehensive mental health crisis service and can provide crucial help to those in emotional distress. Police response and involuntary treatment are rare, but potential risks. If I don't want to call 988, do I have other options? Although the U.S. doesn't have a national mental health hotline that pledges not to call police without callers' consent, there are smaller alternatives that aim to decrease law enforcement involvement. And those resources are Blackline, which is a hotline for the Black LGBTQ plus, Brown, Native, and Muslim communities. You have Kiva Centers, which is daily online peer support groups. You have MH First Oakland and MH First Sacramento. You have Peer Support Space, which is a virtual peer support groups. There is the option of Project Let's, LETS, text support for urgent issues that involve involuntary hospitalization. There is also Samaritans of New York, a hotline based in New York City. There is the service Trans Lifeline, a hotline for trans and questioning individuals. And there is also the service Wildflower Alliance, which is a peer support line focused on suicide prevention. So there are other alternatives to dialing 988. I would imagine if you are somebody who has the potential for a mental break, whether it be maybe you're bipolar, or maybe, I mean, you can't predict. Sometimes trauma happens in life, and trauma can change a person's brain, can change a person's mindset. And trauma can happen at any point to any human. That's why owning a gun maybe not the best thing, because a person's mental state can change on a dime. Maybe look ahead into what's available in your area that is an alternative to 988. Maybe look into seeing if 988 in your area is one that calls on the police for situations. But it sucks that there's no easy, 988 being a number is a number that you should be able to call without fear of danger in any way. And when the police are involved, there is a massive, massive potential for danger. Because that's just the police. They are dangerous. They are dangerous to innocent people. They are dangerous to people who are mentally ill. They are a dangerous organization that does not value life. They do more to protect property. They do more to protect the wealthy. The rest of the population is just livestock, expendable livestock in their view. So anyway, something that I was kind of expecting when I heard about the 988 launch, a question that I had, well, are the police going to be called? And it seems like in some instances, not always, sometimes they do. So I don't know. I mean, it's better than calling 911, I guess. But maybe search out and seek out alternatives depending on where you live. Let's move on To some, it's kind of funny news. Ryan McKinney, dating app, created a dating app for conservatives, for right-wing conservatives. I forget what it's called, The Right Stuff or something like that. And it's kind of ridiculous. As far as myself, I've used dating apps off and on. Not to really, it really depends on, I don't know, the area you're in as far as success. You know, I've met people and had conversations with people through dating apps and things like that. Kind of, at times has been used for me to just like mingle in some ways with people, to socialize with the opposite sex. And one thing when I am on the dating apps is I try to avoid conservatives, because I don't exist in the same reality they exist in. I have much different values than they do. So the fact that they want, The Right Stuff is what this is called. And I think it's going to be launched in September, maybe. So for them to want to start their own dating app is great. I mean, it's just like Trump wanting to start his own social network. I'm sure it won't perform very well, and sure, like, I'm sure in certain areas of the country or in certain areas of the state, it will be a good thing. But I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's just going to be. I would be interested to see statistics on the safety involved, like, because there's situations where it can be unsafe to just meet a stranger off an app. And, when you're dealing with conservatives, majority of the kind of crazy people tend to be on that side. I'm not saying all conservatives are crazy. Just, they all kind of exist in a fictional world that I don't necessarily agree with, but they're not all like insane, but a lot of them are. Like a lot of them think right now that the IRS is buying up ammo and that the IRS is going to take your guns when they audit you. Like, that is a conservative conspiracy theory currently making the rounds, that is mixed in with the whole wanting to have another civil war thing. So that's the kind of thing. There's a lot like this app is going to be a place where you can show off your SS tattoos, your swastika tattoos. You can have pictures of you sig heiling in your profile. You can openly mock marginalized groups and different races of people. I would imagine if you are a person of color, you're not going to do too good on this app, despite the fact that there are definitely conservatives that have excess melanin in their skin. I can't imagine an app that is, kind of geared towards the conservative party is going to be actively looking to go on dates with people that are outside of their pale complexion. But kind of funny, and good for them. Good for them. They want to have their own specific, they want to be segregated from the other dating apps. They don't want to accidentally match with somebody that might have compassion for a marginalized group. They don't want to match with somebody that maybe want human rights to extend to all humans. If you want to be part of an app where if you accidentally get pregnant, guess what? It's a guarantee. Well, actually, conservatives probably get a lot of abortions. They just don't like talking about them. But I'm sure you could easily find, like, if you're looking for primarily Christians, you're probably not going to be running into a lot of people of the Jewish faith or Muslim faith. Like, if you want to find a lot of white Christians, this would be the app for you. Which, good for them. They want to segregate their dating experience. It's, if they can't find the love of their life on Truth Social or Parler or any of the other right-wing hate group message boards and social media networks, this is a great addition for them. Congratulations. Anyway, let's take a little break from the show to promote The Many Faces. That's right, I am also an artist. I do ink paintings on paper of abstract faces. A new face, a new painting gets released every single day over at inspireddisorder.com. So head on over to my website to purchase original artwork directly from the artist. Also, there are prints available for select images. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com, buy original art, buy prints if that's your jam, if you want 8x10 prints on high quality paper. Also, if you're looking to wear some art, there are shirts available with original artwork by myself. Select faces from The Many Faces are also available in t-shirt form. You go to inspireddisorder.com, you buy original artwork, you buy prints, you buy shirts. You're supporting an artist directly. And if you're the type of person that likes to invest in NFTs, there are also NFTs available for select faces. Go to inspireddisorder.com now. And now let's get back to the show. Let's move on to the last and final story. Disney to raise streaming prices, announce new ads option. We all know the company Disney is just struggling for money. They don't have money to buy up every media company. They're just constantly always having to raise prices, always having to double and triple dip on their fan bases, regurgitating just the same movies over and over again, really trashing a lot of franchise, a lot of IP, buying up every single thing. I don't like Disney. And that was way before the conservatives started crying over Disney with their made-up reasons for not liking Disney. I stopped liking Disney because of their price gouging. I've mentioned this many times on my show, used to be a big fan of the UFC. I used to do an episode where I'd recap UFC fights. But during a global pandemic, where people were struggling financially, Disney, aka ESPN, which has the broadcasting rights for the UFC, decided during a global pandemic to raise the price of the pay-per-views, not just once, not just twice, 3 times. During a global pandemic, Disney needed more of that money. In a time where people were already forced to have to pay for pay-per-views because they couldn't go to sports bars, they couldn't really get together with their friends and have parties. So more people were buying pay-per-views, so might as well triple down on that and raise the price of the pay-per-views. I have no idea what the pay-per-view prices are for UFC events. I stopped. I think I watched a couple pay-per-view events through nefarious means, potentially, after the first price jump. But once they announced the second price jump, I was done. And then from what I've heard, they've done it at least one other time. Recently when the Disney stopped, they paused their donations. They paused their political donations to conservatives, right? Which means that they will have probably already likely unpaused their donations. It seems like they're not in the news these days, so I would imagine they have started up their donations to conservative parties, but they temporarily, until people forgot, paused their donations. And also Hulu, which is part of Disney, stopped running ads for Democrats and stopped running ads that were, any kind of related to Democrat agenda, which is very interesting. I mean, Disney, in my opinion, is one of the most conservative media companies in existence. I mean, you want to talk about a media company that stays away. I mean, there's a lot of the properties that they've purchased are just not available anymore because Disney owns them and it doesn't go along with their branding. So you just can't find a lot of movies because they are now owned by Disney, right? They are very, very late to the party when it comes to being progressive in any way. You know, having equal representation of things, maybe here and there in their peripheral properties like Star Wars, maybe there'll be a couple people that aren't white, but then you'll see the fan base of Disney show their true colors. You know, when Rian Johnson's Star Wars came out, a lot of people were very angry at the fact that there was an Asian and a black dude that were kind of a major part of that movie. So then the next movie, they dialed those stories way back. In the newest Buzz Lightyear movie, people up in arms over the fact that maybe there's a character that's mildly gay. You know, that there's a mild reference to somebody being anything other than straight. You know, it's a company that has been extremely conservative for their entire run. That is their brand, is to be conservative. And it's not surprising that a conservative company would also be massively greedy, as Disney is. So, you know, if anybody needed another reason not to support Disney, here you go. But people love Disney. People love Disney Plus. People worship Marvel. People worship Star Wars. People worship Disney. Disneyland is their religious mecca. Like they would die if Disney changed in any major way. And a lot of the people that are hugely invested in those properties are also extremely conservative and extremely like hateful towards anybody that's not a straight white cis person. So whatever. Not surprising. I don't even have a login for Disney Plus. I do watch stuff on Hulu, but I don't pay for the service. I try not to review things that are Disney properties. I haven't watched any aside from I haven't watched any of the newer Marvel movies. I don't really care about Star Wars anymore. Like, they've ruined a lot of franchises in my opinion. So I don't know. A lot of people love them. I don't. Not a fan. But anyway, that's it. Let's do some shout outs and get out of here, shall we? Shout out to ABC News. Shout out to Kaiser Health News. Shout out to Now This News. And shout out to NBC Palm Springs. But most importantly, shout out to you. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.